I'm content manager here at CMG, and I will be there all day long with you, along with Quinn, that you'll meet a bit later. So I hope you had a great first conference. I know the break was a bit short, but because that's it when we have great conferences and great speakers, right? So good news, everyone. What's coming next is going to be just as good. And I'm very glad to introduce you to Amanda Natividad from SparkToro. Now that you've seen what's evolving in the opening keynotes, Amanda will help you deep dive into the subject of zero-click marketing and how to win attention without chasing algorithms. Great start. So just before Amanda starts her conference, I'm also here to remind you to keep your comments polite in the chat, please, to respect each other and our speaker. You may ask any questions you want in the chat as the conference goes on, and Amanda will answer your questions at the end of the session. But right away, to answer your first and main question, yes, there will be a replay of this conference later. No worries about that. So now, Amanda, feel free to come and, well, enjoy your moment. Have a nice conference. Here you are.
Here we go. I think I'm on.
Yeah. See you later.
All right. Thank you, Alexandra. All right, friends, I'm just going to share my slides. All right. Let's go. All right. So today we're going to talk about zero-click marketing. Oops, I just want to make sure my slides can be seen. Oops. Oh, there we go. I'm trying to, there we go. Okay, zero-click marketing, how to win attention without chasing algorithms. So the short version of this is clicks are disappearing, but attention isn't. So today we're going to cover what changed, what to do about it, and how to build a new kind of content strategy. So I don't know about you, but I feel like marketing feels a lot harder lately. Someone says the slides are not showing now, but I see them in the webcast. There we go. Okay. I don't know about you, but marketing feels a lot harder lately. I feel like anytime I'm posting now on LinkedIn, if I tag another brand, the algorithm doesn't like it. If you give even a hint that you're sending people off platform, right here, I have a podcast. And when I mention my podcast, I don't even put the full link. If I mention it, already I feel like my reach has been crushed. And look, I get usually about 1/3 of the reach that I normally get on any given day. But, when I'm kind of just talking and I'm not actually promoting anything, just talking about marketing stuff, not mentioning SparkToro, not mentioning the podcast that I have, it feels like when I had nothing to promote, the reach is a lot better. It's like the algorithms know, right? It's like there's this issue of the disappearing click, right? What is happening with it? Well, Google is in its zero-click era. We know now that almost 60% of Google searches end without a click. And of the ones that do end with a click, about 1/3 of those clicks go to a Google-owned entity, like YouTube, Google Maps, Images, or News. And social media skimming has become the new norm, right? Everything that you see that goes viral on any given platform, it's already native to that platform. It's packaged and ready to consume in-app. There are no links. And as for Twitter or X, right, some of our social platforms, we know that when Elon Musk bought Twitter, that when he showed the algorithm that tweets with links literally are coded as definite spam vector. And then just last week, Meta all but confirmed this, right? They are now explicitly saying that your links are killing your reach, right? And this is from Social Media Today in the dashboard. It shows that this is directly in Facebook's interface where it says a link is in your post caption. It's impacting the post distribution, right? And then in one of Facebook's own transparency reports from, I believe, Q2 of this year, they are saying themselves that 97.3 of all Facebook post views are now going to content with no external link. Oops. But then, even if you did get the click on social, it's going to get misreported. And how do we know? Well, at SparkToro last year, we ran an experiment to measure dark social, and we found that there are networks entirely hiding referral data. So these networks here, right? If your link is somehow coming from TikTok, from WhatsApp, Discord, Mastodon, Slack, that is showing 100%. It's meaning it's showing as your traffic will be showing as direct, right? If your traffic's coming from Facebook Messenger, 75% of the time that is marked as direct. On LinkedIn, it's 14% of the time. So if you're counting on your Google Analytics showing you the actual referral traffic, it's certainly undercounting the performance of your organic content. But then there's also this weird phenomenon that our friends at Siege Media noticed. So they noticed that there are some brands that appear pretty frequently in the leading LLMs like ChatGPT. For instance, they mentioned that like Mailchimp is mentioned a lot on ChatGPT, and so Siege thought that maybe that would account for something, right? So they analyzed 50 websites and found this: that clicks and impressions to a brand's homepage have been higher than the links to deeper on the website, like links to their blog posts and stuff, which really just means that it's because of the branded search, right? If you see MailChimp enough times in your chat GPT, eventually you're probably going to look up MailChimp and then go to their homepage. So, Siege and this report with perhaps a positive outlook. Like maybe the LLMs are taking that top of funnel traffic from us, but hopefully they might be sending us more bottom funnel traffic, right? Because we're getting more brand impressions in ChatGPT. And hopefully that could be a positive one day. And nowadays, right, the other problem is attribution is broken, right? Brand interactions are fragmented and invisible. Someone might see your LinkedIn post, they might hear you on a podcast, and then Google your brand name a week later. And who gets the credit? Google, right? But we know now that about a third of Google searches are navigational anyway. And attribution models tend to reward the last click, not the real journey. The content that actually built trust often gets ignored by reports because it didn't direct the direct conversion, right? Plus, AI and the social platforms, like I said, they're front loading the value. People get what they need right in the feed. No click, no session, no attribution. Oops. So is content marketing dead? Well, no, of course not. A lot of the times these things don't really die. They just really change, right? And now content has a new job. The new job of content marketing is zero click, right? We know now that zero click is providing standalone native to platform value directly in any given platform with no reason to click, without the prioritization of links. And in this zero click world, attribution is going to take a backseat to measurement. So we look at things like the old attribution metrics, right? Where last touch conversion, channel specific click through rate, page view count, form fills. But now our new zero click measurement, we're looking at things like branded search lift, direct traffic lift, earned mentions like classic PR, right? We're not thinking necessarily about crosslinks anymore, but if you can get them, great. And we're now more focused on lead quality and velocity, like the time it takes to close a deal. So here's where zero click marketing comes in and where you can have the highest impact. Most buying decisions are made before someone ever visits your website, right? Oops. Consistent visibility, your brand becomes a default choice. And even if someone doesn't click today, they're more likely to talk about you or Google you tomorrow. This is all consistent, with the rule of 7, right? Where it takes people around 7 touch points to make a purchase. So what is this graph here on the left? This is our traffic in, this is our Google Analytics snapshot in SparkToro. This purple line here, you can see there's a little spike in traffic uh, at the end of May, beginning of June. So what is it, right? So we don't run any paid campaigns. Oh, Louisa asks in the chat definition of zero click content. So zero click content is standalone native to platform content, right? So it's things like uploading the video directly into a social channel. It's typing out the tweet, right? It's all the content, the value right there in the platform, optimized for that platform where there's no reason to click and you're not dependent on dropping the links and getting traffic. Okay. So what is driving this traffic, right? We don't always know on the day of, but we usually know looking back. We can look back at what are the activations that happened, like what are the campaigns that we had. So we know that, I think it was May 29th, we had our SparkToro office hours. We got over 1,000 registrants, and we got a little bit of buzz online from that. We know that a couple of days later or a day later, Rand also published what ended up being a very popular blog post on why AI won't take all our jobs. And then it becomes a little bit unclear because we had a couple of different things going on. Rand had content, I had content. Rand had another popular LinkedIn post that was teasing some upcoming research. And I had a popular LinkedIn post about Hailey Bieber and the sale of her cosmetic brand Rhode. And then after that, I created a podcast episode, my podcast called Meme Team, about Hailey Bieber and that brand. So we had like a bunch of different types of marketing activities happening around this time. So we can fairly reasonably attribute that to the traffic, or at least use that as a sort of proxy for that. Okay. Now, what else? So when you focus on zero click marketing, right, when you're focusing on creating that optimizing content native to your platform, right, you're focusing on how you can make sure that your content actually reaches people, right? Whereas before, when you would drop a link to your blog post, you might tease the blog post, get people to click. Now, when you are optimizing for the platform, you're really optimizing to get seen, and your distinct ideas have a stronger chance of traveling farther, right? When it's native to platform, it makes it more shareable, right? So this is one of my best performing posts in the, I would say, recent 6 to 9 months even. This was when I mentioned that Facebook themselves are saying that links are killing your reach. Well, that was new news that came out last week. I didn't break the story. Andrew Hutchinson from Social Media Today did. And so what I did here was I posted it on LinkedIn, gave kind of all the key takeaways and what that means for zero click marketing. I screenshotted pieces of the article and embedded them right into my post. So I am giving full attribution to, or full credit to Hutchinson and Social Media Today. But because my post wasn't dependent on links, right? Like people could get all that standalone value directly on this LinkedIn post, and then they wanted to, they could look up that that news article themselves. Yeah, and this resulted in almost 200,000 impressions, which perform very well. And what else? With zero click content comes growth, or more sustainable growth through community, not so much SEO. We get a lot of people engaging with us across different kinds of platforms. We get people engaging with our newsletter. So we get people talking about us in these semi-private Slack communities, forwarding our emails, all those things, all these things that are kind of powered essentially by our community. And even now, I'll get emails from people who say that, hey, like I've been reading the audience research newsletter for a long time, and that's why I became a customer, right? This person had written into us and said, you wouldn't know this because you probably can't see the attribution, but you know, your newsletter is the reason I converted and became a customer, right? Because we're not going to be seeing this actual attribution, right? But we know it because someone told us, right? And we're not reliant on hoping that people will just tell us why they became a customer. But what I'm saying here is that we're acknowledging that we are playing a long game now. You're not going to get perfect attribution, right? What you can do is focus on the strength of your core marketing strategy, focus on those core principles, strong foundation, and then over time, as you're playing that long game, you can see um, how it's really driving growth to your for your brand. So how do we adapt to this? Right? How do we adapt to this new world of zero click content? Okay. All right. So one thing is we have to shift our mindsets, right? If we have to shift our mindsets from just thinking about a funnel, right? Maybe the funnel is dead, right? So thinking less about the marketing funnel and more about the brand vortex, right? So we have our traditional funnel of, awareness, consideration, conversion, right? We all know this one. But what is the brand vortex, right? The brand vortex is something that it's not about pushing people into a funnel. The brand vortex is creating marketing or creating content. Let's just say creating marketing, working on these campaigns that are so powerful that it pulls people in wherever they are, right? It pulls people in, kind of nudges them toward your brand. It gets people familiar with you. Over time, you gain trust and eventually intent. And by the way, I did not coin the term brand vortex. My friend Jessica Jalowick, she wrote about it earlier this year, actually just last month. But you could look it up, brand vortex, Jessica Jalowick. It's a good read it's on her LinkedIn page. Image disclaimer. All right. So where do you nudge people, right? I'm talking about the brand vortex, right? I'm saying pull people in, nudge them to where you want them to go. Where do you nudge people, right? So this is some other research that we did at SparkToro. We did this study last year on kind of the way traffic flows around the web, where people are clicking, where referral traffic is coming from, where people are hanging out online. And so what we found was this: when we sorted the traffic or the referral traffic based on categories, here's what we found. We found most people, like of all the different kinds of website categories, it's social media that people spend the most time, right? Which makes sense. I mean, you're probably not going to go to google.com to hang out, right? You're going to go to like LinkedIn to hang out. You might go to Instagram. And what's interesting here is that like I said, when we break down these categories, search is the fifth most visited website category. It's not even in the top three, right? The top three people are visiting social media, productivity apps, so things like Microsoft Office, Google Suite, right? Chat GPT even. Then comes news, e-commerce, like Amazon, eBay, Etsy, right? And then it's search. So think, where do you nudge people? Think, how can you get visibility in, say, the social platforms and the news sites where your audience is already paying attention? And so, yes, it's important to know where people are generally spending their time so that you even have the chance to nudge them. But then you also have to shift your focus from just pure rankings to resonance. You need to create content that resonates because guessing is too expensive, right? You need to know who your audience is, where they spend time, who they trust, right? Like, like what are the content channels that they pay attention to? What are the podcasts they listen to? And you also need to know how their interests evolve over time. Like you need to know what's top of mind for them now, but also need to know, what do they care about last quarter? What do they care about last month? How do their interests evolve? Those were screenshots from SparkToro, by the way, where we show you all that stuff. Now, how do you do all this, right? Like, how do you know where to go? How do you nudge people? Well, for one, to be clear, I'm not saying never care about rankings. I'm saying you have to shift the focus from just thinking about rankings to overall resonance. And what I'm saying is that resonance is ultimately what's going to be more important. And to get to resonance, you need more than just keyword research. You need audience research. So, keyword research, right? We know that you can use a tool like Ahrefs or Moz. This is all search engine specific, right? You can see how many searches a given keyword gets, right? Search volume by month. And then you can also see, right, through like an Ahrefs or Moz, the relative ease in which you can rank, so that keyword difficulty. So then what does audience research tell you on the other side of this? So where keyword research tells you about people are doing on Google search, right? Audience research tells you where people frequent, like which social networks do they use, which productivity apps do they use. Where keyword research tells you how many searches, audience research tells you who's doing the searching and why. And where keyword research tells you the relative ease which you can rank, audience research will tell you the relative ease in which you can join the conversation, right? So it's a little bit like social listening. I mean, I think it's part of audience research. And so at this point, like, what is it now, right? Like, what is audience research really? Can we get to some agreed terminology? Audience research, ultimately, it's just, look, it is understanding a group of people, who they are, what they like, and how they behave, so that you, the marketer or the maker, can make products and services they will actually want and improve how you market it to them. Right? Audience research helps you do these three things. Now, here at SparkToro, we recommend that you use audience research to solve real business and marketing problems, not just as a checklist task, in ways that improve the reach, resonance, and results of your marketing. And, like I was saying earlier, I think you should think about measurement via testing rather than just trying to prove attribution. So how do you do this? How do you do audience research in 2025? All right, so this is it. I do have a blog post on how to do audience research in 2025. You can look that up. But this is the full toolkit that can help you do it. This is a lot of stuff, right? I'm not going to read each individual one, but this is essentially 12 different ways to do audience research. And ideally, you're going to do more than one of these, right? Audience research is not just social listening. It's not just social media discovery. It's not just search intent analysis, right? It's several of these things. And we kind of look at them by category. We can see that one, you can use the same tool multiple ways. So for instance, BuzzSumo can help you do social listening and online monitoring, and it can help you do competitor analysis. Great. That is one that covers some key areas of your audience research. But also, there are things like running surveys and polls, doing a search intent analysis, and doing a website and content data analysis, right? Google can help you do these things. And then here we have, now you can also look at, search intent analysis, first party data, third party research, and AI and predictive analytics. SparkToro can help you with a lot of these, right? So I'm showing you a lot of stuff like here, do this, do that to do audience research. I have a couple of slides next that will kind of break these down into three key areas of audience research, and we'll go through them now. So one key area of audience research is discovering behaviors and conversions, right? And so I'll give you one really tactical, simple way to do this. And this tactical way is creating yourself a saved LinkedIn search or a LinkedIn saved search. Why? So, on Twitter, right, you can create Twitter lists. On Instagram, you can create a Finsta or like a fake Instagram account where this is maybe an account that you would use for work, where the For You feed is all kind of related to the work that you're doing. But LinkedIn doesn't really have a way for you to follow specific or discrete pages, right? But if you make a saved search, you can kind of hack your way around it. So what you could do is go to your LinkedIn, look, just type anything in the search bar, like literally anything, and then hit enter so that you get to the advanced search page. And then here in this top left, um, you can see that I have the filters enabled. So posts. This first one will allow you to filter by posts or people or something else. I want to see posts, right? And then I'm sorting it by latest because I want to see the most recent stuff. And then I sort it by past week, just so I don't miss anything in a given week. And then here's where it gets a little bit tricky. It's I'm sorting this, or I'm making sure that I'm seeing specific members' LinkedIn posts. So this happens to be like a friend list for me. And these are like my friends and colleagues, peers, whatever, whose posts I really don't want to miss. And then now I just have this, and then I just bookmark this page. And now I just go to this feed whenever I'm thinking, oh, what are my friends up to on LinkedIn? Um, all right. Now the other part of it. So, I realize, right, LinkedIn is not the be all end all. What else can you do to discover behaviors and conversations? Go to the subreddits that your audience is participating in, right? So, for instance, through Spectoro, I know that these are the subreddits that are frequently visited by people with the term marketing director in their social media bios. They are in the subreddits for like marketing, entrepreneur, startups. Right, cool. So now I can go to these subreddits and see what people are talking about, right? I could join the conversation if I want to, or I can just be a lurker. And this is how I'm going to know like what's top of mind for them, the things they care about. Now, the second category is analyzing content and performance, right? So this is a little bit of kind of looking inward. So what do I have here? So what you can do here to do a quick analysis of your website or your own content is go to your Google Search Console and look at these things like what are some of the keywords people are searching for before they get to your site, right? For us, people are searching for our fall event, Spark Together, which, by the way, if you're going to be in the US in fall, hope you'll consider that. People are searching for zero-click content, right? People are searching for Spark Toto, all right, typo. But now I can also see like uh, this is so basic, right? But I'm just giving you examples of like some kind of site analysis. And then these are like our most popular blog posts over the past 3 to 4 months. You can see like, okay, this our post on our research usually performs best. But I had this post a while back on ROI versus VOI about how you can think about tracking the value on investment of your marketing. So now this, I see this and I think, oh, maybe I should revisit that idea, write a follow-up blog post, right? You can do this stuff too. This is just a very, very, very lightweight way to think about how you do a content analysis. And then finally, you can learn directly from people, right? Talk to your customers, talk to your audience. Not all the time, maybe, but at least sometimes, right? Like get a sense of what people want, what they're talking about, what they're asking for you. So look, when you think about where audience research fits in your marketing journey, I might say bigger picture, market research. So the research on the overall market that you are in, that's kind of your map. And then when you continue with audience research, that's your compass that makes sure you're heading in the right direction. And then, Sparktoro could be your binoculars, maybe your hat is your marketing strategy. Now it's getting too cheesy. Um, and then when you think about how you can take everything you've learned today and put it into action, right? From going from insight to execution, think about, you know, what think about the how you can validate ideas before you create. So validate ideas maybe by testing some stuff on social, talking to your sales team, talking to your customers, right? Then create point of view driven resonant campaigns. I'm not even saying it has to be content necessarily, right? These could be full scale marketing campaigns. And then think about, can you pair SEO with actual interest, right? Can you pair some discoverability and longevity, right, with the interest at hand? Go out there and create something great, right? And get the credit for it, right? Because maybe you're not going to get the clicks today, but if you focus on creating great work, people will notice. You'll start getting mentioned here in like Chat GPT and whatnot. Who invented domain authority? Well, it said Moz, but actually it was Rand Fishkin. Who made up the law of shitty click-throughs? Well, that was created by growth expert Andrew Chen, a growth expert in VC, Andrew Chen, and who coined the phrase zero-click marketing, right? So think about these things that you can do that are that are that are good for your brand, that lift your brand up, that lift you up, that can ultimately get mentioned in LLMs. All right. If you have any questions on our tool in general, you can email us at support@sparktoro.com. If you have hate mail you'd like to send, don't worry. I read every single one. You can email me directly at amanda@sparktoro.com. And with that, I saw the chat kind of lighting up, but I was too out of sorts to try to sort it real time. So apologies for that. Okay. And I think I am not sharing. Okay. All right. And I will look through for questions. Okay. I think I'm just looking in the chat for questions. Oh no, there's a Q&A. Sorry. Okay. Oh, so Carolyn asked, most brand decisions are made before someone visits your website. Can you elaborate? Yeah. So what I'm saying there is, well, let's start with that rule of 7 that I mentioned. That's kind of that's an often cited number for stat for how many touch points a customer needs before they convert, right? So this may be like how many touch points, how many mentions they see of you. And we know now that we did this study on SparkToro about how people are using Google. We know that like it's something like over a third of searches are navigational, meaning people already know where they want to go online. It's something like 15% or so are commercial, like people are searching for a given brand, right? So that already represents that a lot of people already kind of know what they're doing or know what they want before they go to your website. So that's pretty much what I meant there. Okay. All right. What are some tips to convince legacy marketing bosses or clients who highly value click metrics of this shift to zero click? So here's where I'm going to say, this is where all the research that we at SparkToro have been doing over the recent, year and a half to 2 years, all points to zero click. It's not on purpose. We are trying to figure out the way traffic flows on the web, who's referring traffic, all those things. And what we're seeing is that there is a decline in the traffic, in referral traffic overall, right? So we know that this is you can search for these studies online. Like our study on referral traffic, like who sends referral traffic. Well, we know that Google does send a lion's share referral traffic, but it's been shrinking over time. And over time, we've been seeing that the top 180 websites or so, and by the way, top 180 websites, that doesn't even include like BuzzFeed, for instance. That's like, this is like top of the top. Those top 180 websites are getting more and more traffic over time. And the rest of the web, people like you and me, are getting less and less traffic over time. So one, we are getting less traffic. We've been getting less traffic over time. We also know with dark social, right, that even if you do get a click, you probably can't even see it. And if you even go to your Google search, like your Google search, not console, but like your Google Analytics, sorry, you're probably already going to see stuff that doesn't make sense. Like for us, I think it says, last I checked, and I should have screenshotted this, last I checked, it said like 86% of our traffic is direct. There's no way that's true. There's no way that like hundreds of thousands of people are typing out sparktoro.com and going to our website. Like we know that's just not true, right? So it's, by the way, I could, this is what my presentation was all about, right? Like, how do you convince them? The presentation I just gave, but also, all else fails, you tell them that, look, the ChatGPT usage is going up. Let's figure out ways to get mentioned there, right? That's going to appeal to their egos, and then getting the mentions in AI overviews and ChatGPT. A lot of that has to do with mastery of classic PR, right? Getting mentioned by other entities that are trustworthy, right? Where you're not just focused on getting clicks, it's how do I build influence? How do I get people to care about me and my brand, right? Ultimately, like over time, that's kind of what gets you in the LLMs. All right, I will move on to the next question. Oops. With no-click content, how do you propose we truly present success and ROI? For example, to build a case to increase digital marketing output or budget. Well, here's where I think we could learn a lot from out-of-home advertising, right? So out-of-home advertising is like the oldest form of marketing. That's billboard marketing, right? So today that's billboards, um, public transportation station takeovers, right? Displays in like elevators. That's all out of home advertising. And that's a certain kind of marketing that's happening offline, right? Out of the house and it's offline. But those are getting tracked, right? Nobody's putting up billboards and then not tracking success, right? But they use different kinds of metrics to track it. And how do they do it? Right. But they do it um, um, through tracking things like incremental lift in a given region, right? They might look at seeing what like if they can see branded search lift in a given region, or if they can see lift in revenue by a given region. Like those are things that you won't get perfect attribution, but you know if you're spending enough time driving awareness in any given area. And if you look for ways to kind of measure that over time, that's what can help you kind of build your case for the digital marketing output or budget. The other way I might say this too is zero click content or zero click marketing, it makes your content more sustainable, right? So rather than thinking about like, let's create this blog post, let's hope it ranks, and let's promote this blog post in all our social channels. It's not so much thinking about that. It's thinking about let's create this blog post and how do we spread the ideas that we've covered, right? When you're thinking more about sharing ideas, you're thinking more holistically about the way you can shape your audience's perception of you, right? You're not thinking about like, how do I get people to click on this link? You're thinking about how do I get people to care about this idea? And then you start thinking about how you repurpose this content across different kinds of social channels, right? And then over time, right, you will drive that kind of awareness, drive the influence, and then hopefully people will remember some of the stuff, then they'll search for it, and then they'll go to your site, right? Or then they'll find the blog post or whatever that is. So that's one way I would think about it. All right. How can we think about zero click in a Gemini or ChatGPT native response, ensuring that the person asking the question sees our brand and takes some action to convert at some point? Um, I haven't done a ton of testing in Gemini and ChatGPT specifically. You could also look up because Rand Fishkin, my boss colleague, he's been doing a little more testing on this. So you could look up some of what he's posted about on our blog on AI. But the kind of gist of it is focusing on classic PR, right? Going back to PR where you're looking for spreading brand awareness and getting mentions. And over time that does influence, Gemini or ChatGPT. Other people to follow for this, look at Siege Media's work and then look at Seer Interactive's work. They're constantly testing this kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't mean to shirk responsibility there, but just that I think those people and entities are better informed on the Gemini and ChatGPT stuff specifically. They're more informed than I am.
All right, Amanda, thanks a lot. I think it's time to wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed your time. And thanks a lot for the amazing conference and for your answers, by the way. So now I